Something big might be happening behind the scenes, and if you're paying close attention, you can feel the momentum building. There's a real sense that this team isn't stuck in its current position, and the possibility of a major change on draft night is becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. The kind of change that doesn't just impact one pick, but could completely reshape the direction of the roster going forward. But first, click the like button so you don't miss any updates. Let's go! It's starting to feel less like speculation and more like something brewing behind the scenes in Berea, because multiple credible voices are now aligning around the same idea. The Cleveland Browns may not be picking at number 6 when the 2026 NFL Draft finally arrives. According to Matt Miller, this situation mirrors what we saw just a year ago, when early whispers about a potential trade down were initially dismissed, only to gain real traction as draft day approached. That alone should grab your attention, because Browns fans lived through that exact scenario recently. The key difference now? The number of teams with both the motivation and the assets to make a deal happen appears even stronger. Two franchises immediately stand out: the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Jets. Both are reportedly exploring aggressive moves up the board, and both possess multiple first-round picks, which is exactly the kind of ammunition Cleveland would demand in a trade-down scenario. There's also a growing belief that Cleveland doesn't necessarily love sitting at 6. When you connect that with what Andrew Berry hinted at during the NFL owners' meetings, saying he isn't even sure the team will be picking at that spot, you start to see a front office clearly keeping its options open. And here's where things get really interesting. Albert Breer added that several teams, including the Browns, are actively exploring moving down to accumulate more draft capital. That lines up perfectly with a roster-building philosophy that prioritizes flexibility and long-term depth. Now, let's talk about the players driving this potential movement. Names like Arl Reese and Jeremiah Love are being floated as prospects who could trigger a trade-up frenzy. Reese, in particular, is viewed as a versatile defensive weapon with a skill set that could tempt a team like Dallas, especially given their need to reinforce a defense that underperformed last season. On the other side, Jeremiah Love is being described as one of the top overall talents in the class. If he's still on the board at 6, it's easy to imagine multiple teams scrambling to leapfrog each other to secure him. That's where the Browns could capitalize, turning one premium pick into a package that accelerates their rebuild or retool. There's even more smoke coming from Dane Brugler, who outlined a scenario where Cleveland trades the 6th pick and ends up with picks 12 and 20 from Dallas. That kind of return would give the Browns 3 first-round selections, opening the door to address multiple needs in one night. And if you think that's too aggressive, Ian Rappaport has also indicated that the Cowboys are one of the most likely teams to move up, specifically targeting a top defensive playmaker. When multiple insiders start echoing the same team in trade discussions, it usually means there's real fire behind the smoke. All of this points to a draft night scenario where Cleveland is sitting at 6, the phone rings, and a franchise like Dallas makes an offer too good to ignore, just like we've seen before. The Browns would then shift from picking one elite prospect to potentially reshaping their roster with multiple high-end talents in the same round. So now it comes down to you. If you're in that draft room and the Cowboys offer multiple first-round picks to move up, are you pulling the trigger and trading down, or are you staying put at 6 to take your guy? The more you break down this scenario, the more it feels like Cleveland is sitting in one of the most powerful positions in the entire draft, because they don't just have a top 10 pick, they have leverage. And if the board falls the way insiders are hinting, that leverage could turn into a massive haul that reshapes this roster overnight. Think about the potential outcome here. If the Dallas Cowboys come calling with 2 first-round picks, Cleveland isn't just moving back, they're multiplying their opportunities. Instead of betting everything on one player at 6, you're suddenly looking at picks 12, 20, and potentially even more flexibility beyond that. And that's where this becomes a strategy conversation. Because with 3 first-round selections, the Browns could attack multiple premium positions in a single night. You could walk away with a top-tier wide receiver, reinforce the offensive line, and still grab a defensive playmaker. That's not just filling holes, that's accelerating the entire competitive timeline of this team. From Dallas's perspective, it makes just as much sense. This is a team in win-now mode, and their biggest issue last season was on the defensive side of the ball. Waiting at pick 12 might mean missing out on the elite tier of defensive prospects. Moving up to 6 guarantees them access to that top group, whether it's a pass rusher or a versatile defender like the ones being discussed. And here's another key detail that can't be ignored. The Cowboys don't have a second-round pick. That reality almost forces their hand. If they want to secure a blue-chip talent, packaging both first-rounders becomes the logical path. It's aggressive, but it aligns perfectly with their urgency to fix the defense immediately. Meanwhile, for Cleveland, saying no to that kind of offer becomes incredibly difficult. You're essentially turning one asset into 3 premium shots at impact players. And in today's NFL, where depth and rookie contracts are critical, that kind of move can set you up not just for one season, but for sustained success. There's also the possibility of getting creative after the trade. With multiple first-round picks, the Browns could even flip one of them for future assets, potentially adding a 2027 first-rounder into the mix. That's how you build long-term flexibility while still staying competitive in the present. What really stands out is how consistent the messaging has been across insiders. Ian Rapoport made it clear this isn't just speculation for clicks. Teams like Dallas are genuinely exploring moving up for a defensive cornerstone. When you combine that with what Albert Breer and Matt Miller have reported, it paints a picture of a draft night where Cleveland is right at the center of the action. And don't overlook the importance of how the board unfolds. If a player like Jeremiah Love is still available at 6, or if one of those top defensive prospects is sitting there, the phones in the Browns' war room are going to light up. That's when the real pressure kicks in. Do you stick and pick, or do you take the deal that could redefine your roster? Because make no mistake, this isn't just about moving down. This is about identity. It's about whether the Browns believe one elite prospect is the missing piece, or if they trust their scouting and development enough to turn multiple picks into a stronger, deeper, more complete football team. Draft night is shaping up to be a moment where Cleveland could either make a bold selection or orchestrate one of the biggest moves of the entire first round. And if the reports are right, don't be surprised if that phone call comes, and the Browns don't hesitate to answer. Now I want to hear from you. Are you accepting that trade and building with 3 first-round picks? Or are you staying at 6 and betting on one superstar? And if you made it this far, make sure to subscribe, drop a like, and click on the video on your screen right now, because the latest Browns updates, you'll only find them right here. Let's go, Browns!